It's meeting material posted.
Everything has been posted, yes.
Great. Okay, let's start with the roll call.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the interpreter that just joined set up properly.
Okay,
If you don't mind, I'd just like to let her know that right as of now, we don't have anyone who needs your services, but I will set you up to multi-pin and I will pin you right now as
Okay. So, should I just wait until you let me know, or what would you like me to do?
well. I'm assuming if someone joins, they will let me know or let you know. So one of us, between the two of us, will figure it out.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and I'm not sure if we have another interpreter that will be joining us later, but I will try to do the same thing. I'll pin them and allow them to multi-pin when they arrive. And I'm not going to interrupt the meeting to do that. So if you could just communicate with them what I did to you, that would be great. Thanks.
So, yeah, we're supposed to have a second one, but I don't see them yet.
Okay. Linda, you say you're having problems hearing? I'm not sure what that problem is. Can everyone else hear me okay?
yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Linda, if you need to, maybe you can check your speaker or you can leave and come back to the meeting. Sometimes that helps. Okay, Julia, I think I'm ready for a roll call now, if you don't mind.
okay, let's get this show on the road.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Julie Weissman Steinbach.
Present.
And Evander Davis is excused today. He had some business. Ace Patrick.
Here.
Sabra McWhorter Clark.
Here.
Margaret Marcucci is just now entering the room. I just saw. Linda Voivoda.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, barely, but I can hear you.
Okay, good. Peter Whittingham. I know Peter said he would be joining through audio only, but perhaps he's having a delay in that. So I know he will be here if he's not here yet. An Obioma officer is also excused absent. Ashley Price, would you like me to address you as Ashley Price or Ashley Crow?
It will be Ashley Crow, but not until like November 23rd. So Crow would make it easier to remember. Thank you.
Okay. And that's it. And we do have quorum.
Great. Welcome everyone to our first day of our two-part SILC quarterly meeting. Dawn, could you read the preamble for public comment?
I sure will.
Thank you.
No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782 US Tacoma. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434 and passcode 707401. Comments will be allowed at the beginning and end of each day and will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments.
Do we have any public comment?
I am getting a message from Margaret in the chat that she has no audio or we can't hear her. Is that correct, Margaret? Are you trying to speak and we can't hear you?
No, I have bronchitis, so I have no voice.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um,
Thanks for letting us know. We'll try not to call on you too much and you can
It's
always
okay.
put
You
your information in the chat. Okay, I don't see any hands up for public comment.
Moving right now. Item 5. Or item 4, sorry. I'd like to welcome Margaret Marchese. I'm sorry if I butchered that. And Ashley Price seem to be Crow our council. We look forward to working with you. Does anyone, Ashley, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. My name is Ashley Crow. I did get married a few weeks ago, but unfortunately it takes weeks and weeks to get an appointment with DMV. So Social Security Administration recognizes me as Ashley Crow, state of Nevada, not quite. I am an education programs professional at the Nevada Department of Education, Office of Inclusive Education. I work very closely with Jennifer Kane, who you all know. I work on co-project directing the Nevada TRIP grant, the Transition Roadmap through Innovative Partnerships. We are rapidly developing a website, lots of trainings. It's coming together magnificently, and I hope to share it with you in the future. I also am the resources coordinator for the Office of Inclusive Education. So I get charged with submitting the updates for the website, not doing any of the technical stuff. I also listen to what's needed and build out courses in Canvas that offer trainings to our professional learning experiences, to teachers and administrators and paraprofessionals throughout the state. And I think that's about it. It's very nice to be on Nevada SILC, and I look forward to working with you all.
We're very excited right here. Margaret, I know you know.
I'll do the best I can, Julie. I'm Margaret Marcucci. I'm from the Rural Center for Independent Living in Elko. And I have been busy with working with voc rehab with some of our clients. I also took a lot of people to vote. I'm a retired special ed teacher after 40 years.
Well, welcome.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask you if it would be okay to mention a couple other membership
Yes, please.
statuses. We will definitely miss Jennifer Kane very much, but we're very happy to have you, Ashley, and we know you guys are a team anyway, so we appreciate that. I am also wanted to mention that there have been some people who have termed out of our council, including some of our mandatory representatives, one of them being a CIL executive director. Mary, thank you for serving your 2 consecutive terms with us. We really appreciate your input, and of course, we value your future input regardless of whether you're a member or not. And Lisa, I know you're here. I just haven't heard back from you on whether or not you've applied, but as you know, the routine goes, it's either you or Mary. And so since Mary can't, it's now your turn. So just let us know as soon as you can when you've been able to submit your application to the governor's office for our council. I appreciate that. And then the other mandatory member that we have to have is a DSE representative. And although Cheyenne has been acting in that category for some time now, she has termed out of our council for some time now. And Lori, it's good to see you. As I understand, you are going to be the next DSE representative. So I wasn't sure where you were at within that application process, but please let me know so we can make sure and get your endorsement over to the governor's office.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize. So this is Lori Lutu, like Don had said. And I am with Aging and Disability. I'm the regional coordinator down here in the South. I cover Clark and Southern Nye counties. And so I have applied, Don. So I'm not sure where I'm at in the process, but I did submit everything.
Great, thank you so much for letting me know. It may take a while now because I think they just did their rounds with us, but as soon as they get to those SILC appointments again, I'm sure we'll hear back. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Oh, looks like Lisa Bonnie responded in the chat that she's applied. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you letting us know, and I can send those endorsements over now together. So I appreciate that.
Anyone else?
Just so everybody is aware, we don't have a new youth outreach specialist yet, but we are scheduling interviews starting next week. So hopefully by the next SILC meeting, we'll already be familiar with whoever that is and we can introduce them at that time. I just want to let everybody know the status of that. That's all I had on council memberships or announcements. If anybody else has any announcements, now would be the time.
Can anybody apply?
Who is speaking?
Linda, I'm sorry.
Oh, hi,
Linda, for the record. Can anybody apply?
This is Dawn Lyons. Julie, do you mind if I just answer her?
Yeah, go ahead.
So anybody can apply once they've contacted one of a SILC members who will then explain the process to them on how to apply and what our process looks like. That's all on our website. In fact, we're going to be addressing that's one of our materials today is at Peter's request actually was that we go ahead and review our process for onboarding. It is the SILC members, all of our responsibilities to recruit new people onto our council. And so it is an important duty because we don't want to get too short-staffed on our council so that we have enough people representing enough people with disabilities in our community to go ahead and make our council really meaningful and promote the change that needs to be promoted. The one thing that I would recommend is that if you do encourage someone or ask them to apply, that you let them know that they introduce themselves at one of our meetings before they do that and let us know their intention, and that we need to maintain over 50% of people with disabilities on our council. So just keep that in mind as well. But yes, anybody who's interested can reach out.
Are we ready for item 5?
Oh, yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. Ace put in the chat that she will be terming out as well. I believe she terms out before our next meeting in January or right after. Can you verify which Ace? Do you know off the top of your head?
This is Ace. Yep. Yep. Tomorrow will be the last time that I meet with a SILC as a member. So
No.
I term out at the end of December. So, yep.
And obviously we will sorely miss you, Ace. You have been a strong chair in the past and such a strong advocate in our community for independent living and for the SILC in general, and all the work you've done for this council. I just want to personally thank you because you have been instrumental in our success.
This is Ace. Thank you so much, Dawn. I appreciate it. And have been very happy to serve for my 6 years. And so I've been very grateful and was grateful for the 2.5 years that I served as chair. And so thank you. And I wish you all well.
And Julie, it looks like Margaret said in the chat that Dee Dee is also trying to join the meeting, but I don't see anyone trying to get into the room yet. So I'm not sure if she's having technical difficulties or what.
Okay. I think we should move on. So let's move to item 5 and get to CIL updates. Let's start with Mary from SNCIL.
Good afternoon, Julie. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. For the record, this is Mary Evil-Sizer, the Executive Director for the Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living, and we serve down here in Clark County, and we are ACL accredited. I would like to report that since our last quarterly meeting, we've had a few increases. Our services increased 10% or 9%. They went from 833 to 921, and those are individuals requesting different services. We have a variety of services, as you know, the 5 core services. We had 25% of our requests were for advocacy and legal services. 2% were for assistive technology. 40% were for housing. And as you know, we've been running about 59 or 60% of our requests were for housing. What's been happening is we are one of the partners here in Clark County that can screen individuals for the mainstream vouchers. However, the mainstream voucher has been placed on a waiting list. And what is happening when we advise individuals that it's a wait list only, they're in a hurry. They want immediate housing, which to this date, we have not been able to find it. So we have increased the number of housing workshops that we're doing, trying to educate the disability community on the best way to get housing is to get on any list that you can. And specifically because the Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living is one of the partners that can add them directly to the homeless database system that gets them on the list should the waivers, the mainstream waivers or the emergency housing waivers, if either waivers has any waivers, our consumers do get on it first. So anyway, 25% of our consumers were asking for independent living skills services. Of course, we have personal counseling services. We had some that asked for personal assistant services. And again, that's one of the barriers that we're having throughout Nevada is access to personal assistant services. We did several preventative services where we prevented individuals from going into an institution, meaning a nursing home. We had about 6% of our consumers requesting transportation services. And then youth services, we're seeing more and more. I'd like to also report that we had a very successful Disability Awareness Day. I want to thank everyone, Dawn and the SILC, all of you, for the extra funds we had for social media. We were able to increase our attendees by 14% this year. So, and we know that was the social media. We also got an increase of vendors. Usually we limit the vendors to 30 because we're limited to space. But this time there were some vendors we really wanted there. Abel was there. And then I also want to thank Lori Tutu for bringing out the Aging and Disability Partners. It was wonderful. We had the Medicare services, we had the Focus services, and several others. It was a very hot day, so we appreciate all of our partners, all of the vendors, and all of the attendees that did come. So with that being said, I also wanted to share with you something that hadn't occurred to me, but our sister center in Northern Nevada, Lisa Bonnie, Northern Nevada, she said, Mary, do you recall that we are now on 2 statewide initiatives for the Centers for Independent Living? And so I'll let you know a little bit. Both the Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living and the Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living have been working all of last year to develop a sub-website within our website for disaster preparedness. And it is a wonderful website that we rolled out the Disability Awareness Day. And we are getting ready to roll it out to the public. And then, Julie, we are going to be requesting if you would be so gracious that if we could do a presentation sometime for the SILC, and we know we just need to send an agenda item. So, and we know with your grace, you'll let us do that. So we can educate as many people as we can how to use the website because it is designed specifically for individuals with disabilities. For example, if you're blind, you would go in and click on the blind tab, and there's some tips and tricks and what you can do to get ready. But that's for another day. Then also the Centers for Independent Living, Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living, and the Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living, we are on the DIF. And Ashley, it's so good to see you here. The trip, and to put it in an easy way to understand, it's resources for youth ages 10 to 24 so that they can start to feel empowered while they're 10 years old in school. It's so that they can feel empowered and have access to resources as they move up through the ages through age 24. And as you know, the centers, we work through age infinity. So it doesn't end at age 24 with us. All righty, moving along. I'd also like to always give credit to the other partners. There is, of course, Ashley and Jennifer with the Nevada Department of Education and many other wonderful people. Nevada PEP is an awesome partner. The SILC is an awesome partner. UNR is there doing videotapes to train youth on youth transition. And Voc Rehab has taken the lead in doing the lion's share of the work with the website. Enough said, you guys have heard more and more about that, but we want to educate you. Okay, since we last met, again, we've conducted 5 housing workshops in which we try to train and encourage individuals. Do not give up, get on any waiting list, take care of the details, get those rental applications in. Then we've also, our staff presented at the Reno DD Silver State Self-Advocacy Conference, August 5th, 6th, and 7th, along with the Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living. We did a rollout of our disaster preparedness program at that conference. And then two of our team members were able to attend the National April Conference. And the April is the rural equivalent of our national NNCIL, the National Council for Centers for Independent Living. But rural centers are very important, and rural services are important as well. So we try to educate and keep up with everything. And then also several of our staff attended the Independent Living Philosophy Update. And I noticed that all the SILC counselors received that notice to attend that training. It was a 2 or 3 day training, but it was an awesome training on updating about the independent living philosophy. They did archive it, and I know that Julie and Don can get you the information to view the archives. In the independent living philosophy is so important for everything that we do that I hope you'll have the opportunity to do that. And with that, I do apologize to the interpreters and to any of our deaf community that are online. I do try to speak a little faster because of time constraints. With that, I thank you for your time. I thank you for listening. And with Julie's permission, I am open for any questions.
Julie, this is Dawn Lyons. Before we ask for any questions from the group, I wanted to remind you that Carol actually reminded me that we did not approve the minutes on the agenda previous to this. So maybe after we're done asking questions about SNCIL updates, we can move back to that before we move on.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Are there any questions? Mary.
I do not see any hands up in the Zoom.
Okay. Okay. Lisa, you're up next.
You didn't want to go back to the minutes?
Oh, you want to go back? I just thought we could get through this.
Oh, okay.
And then go back. Lisa, you're up.
I'm struggling to get unmuted. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry about that. Lisa Bonnie. Thanks, Julie. Lisa Bonnie for the record, Executive Director, Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living. It's been a busy 90 days for us as well. I don't need to hit on the things that Mary did, just to say that we've been working incredibly hard on these statewide initiatives. And while the emergency preparedness initiative is on, is on the wrap up side, the Nevada trip is just really starting to blossom, and our part in it and the planning and all. As far as our center goes, we've just contracted for some services to start to develop the independent living side of the website for all the pieces that we're going to be responsible for. And we're really excited because it's a very fun project. And it's great to know that we're doing something around youth transition and helping to make that a more seamless experience, and helping kids get out of school and not get lost in those years that come right afterwards. So we're very excited about that. The other thing that is going on that's big in our office is we have a new staff person, which we were very excited about. She's going to be a rural independent living outreach. Can you keep that out there, please? Thanks. I'm sorry. I got interrupted for just a second. Independent living advocate. And then she's also comes with deaf and hard of hearing skills. So she's already been working with Obiama and getting connected up with the initiatives that are starting around the state to better bridge the deaf and hard of hearing community, because much like the blind community, we were made aware of a lot of the gaps in services. So that's going to be, it's a very nice thing to be able to add to our team. The other thing to kind of circle around and what Mary talked about as far as housing goes, we're in the same boat. You know, housing is a huge percentage of what we do on a daily basis. We have an interesting partnership with the city of Sparks. It's been allowing us to provide rental assistance, relocation assistance, as well as we just negotiated with them to open up the funding that we have available for utility assistance as well for seniors with disabilities. So that's helping us to at least help some folks while we're waiting to find housing for them. It was much like what Mary said, everything's a list. You know, every list has got another list. It's very long, very nerve-wracking process. But the city of Sparks has been great to work with, so we're very grateful for that. We've been in Tonopah, Pahrump, Fallon, Elko, Winnemucca, Virginia City. I feel like I'm that Johnny Cash song, you know. I've been everywhere. It's been a very busy 90 days. The team has been out doing a lot of outreach in the rural areas, looking to educate around independent living philosophy. One of the things, to circle back to the housing, and this is of course applicable to the other services that we provide. It often leads us to people who don't know what they don't know, of course, and also don't know what they need as far as what might be available with assistive technology and independent living skills trainings and that sort of thing. And one of the things that's become pretty exciting for us is we are a provider for the I Can Connect program, which is funded through the Helen Keller Foundation. And that's for people who are experiencing hearing loss as well as vision loss. And through the housing program that we have, we've actually been able to serve 2 more individuals in the last 90 days who had no technology at all. And if you're familiar with the program, you know that if you qualify, it provides for iPhones, iPads, all kinds of assistive technology, and the training. That's really important, and the training for free. And so, you know, by having these other programs that funnel into our office, we're able to connect folks in a lot of ways to lots of different things that can enhance the quality of their life and keep them independent in the community. I want to thank Mary. I had 2 staff people in Las Vegas. Yes, they said it was really hot. For the Disability Awareness Day to help promote the emergency preparedness website. And we really want to thank them for hosting us down there and letting us be a part of their event. Because we do serve, in addition to being down there for the emergency, we do serve Nye County, Esmeralda County, you know, all of those counties that touch down to Las Vegas. They actually fall under our service area. So it was fun. We actually did a little side trip to Pahrump while we were down there so that we could take care of some things there as well. I think, and I made a note to myself just to let you know, I have put my application with the governor's office, so I don't know what's going on from that point, but if there's anything else I need to do on my end, I'm more than happy to do it. And I guess the last really big thing for me personally, for our staff, is after many, many years of planning and fundraising and sweating it out, our kitchen was destroyed this morning. Our entire kitchen was demolished. We're putting a brand new teaching kitchen in our Reno Sparks office. So we're very excited about that, because if you've never been in our teaching kitchen, it was very old and really grungy. So it is a very exciting day at NNCIL to be having the ability to do this. And nobody cried when those cabinets came down. I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Julie.
Dee Dee?
No, Dee Dee, This is Dawn Lyons. Dee Dee was having a little bit of a sound issue earlier because she had two.
She's on. She's on, I hope. I just talked to her a minute ago.
I do see her name. I just don't know if she's.
There she goes.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, I just my computer decided all of a sudden it had to update, and you know how that goes. So, we've had a very busy last 90 days. We've been working closely with Nation's Finest in trying to get some of our veterans off the streets. We got a veteran off the street as well as his significant other and his developmentally delayed son, who had no housing. They were out in the desert for 2.5 years. And so we were able to get them placed in housing, get their utilities taken care of through one of the Tunnels to Towers organizations. And he is very, very happy to be off the streets and into a home before the cold weather hit for the winter. We also are working with another veteran here in Carson City who is just about ready to be placed in his housing along with his significant other. And I worked with one other veteran who is in the process through our connections with our landlords here in town. We were able to get him a place he could afford. And we also helped him to get linked up with HUD-VASH. So he should be off the streets in the next 2 weeks.
Trixie,
We have been working diligently also with attending conferences. I went to the April conference, which I found extremely exciting. I talked with the Montana University that is doing a lot of exploration in the areas of excuse me, in the area of utilizing the rural libraries. And we had a long talk about the fact that we are working with a lot of the organizations in town here as well as in other rural areas to utilize the libraries for things like food stamps, how food stamps and the medical care that and getting people signed up who are on the streets, because it's often very intimidating for them to go into an office setting. They're more comfortable in a library setting. So we're working a lot with them. We also have the same problems as everyone else as far as housing goes. And we're just encouraging people to get on lists and getting everyone signed up on all the lists that are required for them to be able to get low-income housing. Housing starting to get a little bit better here in Carson City. They are building a lot of low-income units and also veteran accessibility units. So things are getting a little bit better here. Of course, I have been working closely with the mayor, letting her know how much we appreciate all her hard work she's put in. Um, and I'm going to let my coworker, Margaret, out in Elko, add to what she's been doing.
I've been working with the VFW and with their people that we're trying to get houses and stuff like that. There's a lot of people applying for what low income apartments we have. The waiting list right now, when I talked to Chris the other day, was 175 people waiting. So as they get a chance, they get into the apartments. I'm also been working with Voc Rehab because I have a bunch of people that they won't go by themselves. They drag me and I don't care. I love going in there. I know the ladies very well. I also take my clients because they don't like to go to get food stamps, Medicaid. Been working with some of them to get their Medicare taken care of to make sure that they have that. I'm also, so you guys know, we have a foster parent program, the Moses Project, and any of my clients that cannot afford a Thanksgiving dinner are on the list and they will be getting their free Thanksgiving dinner. And it's unbelievable how much they have come to help me get this done from the clients that I have. Also, so you guys know, Lisa and Mary, I had a chance to do your video that they were talking about. My friend and I both did it. She did it in Winnemucca and I did it here in Elko. And we had a couple other ladies that also did it. And I don't know, I know that Jenny called them, but Elko doesn't get Reno Station. So it'd be nice if we could see it, but we don't know how. I'll turn it back over to Julie or to Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Margaret.
Is there any questions?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Thank you, Julie.
Any questions?
Okay, no questions. I think everybody's ready to move on.
Okay. We're going to go back to item 3. Approval of minutes from June 12th, 2024 and July 10th and 11th, 2024. Do we have to do this separately?
This is Dawn Lyons. I think we probably should so that people can provide any input on each of them if they need to.
Start with the July meeting. And then the June meeting, sorry. The June 12th, 2024. Does anyone have any corrections?
This is Dawn Lyons. I just wanted to mention, Julie, I would ask about the questions or the updates separately, but to get, if no one has any changes, we can definitely make a motion, have someone make a motion to both.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Did
Sorry,
I say question? I meant changes. I'm sorry. Does anyone have any changes to the July and the June 12th minutes? Would somebody like to make a motion? Can somebody please make a motion?
Hi, this
This
is
is
Saber
Linda
McWhorter
Bigota.
Clark. Oh,
Go
go ahead,
ahead.
Linda. Okay, I'll keep going. This is Saber McWhorter Clark. For the record, I make a motion to approve the minutes for July 10th and 11th, 24 meeting.
Actually, we're doing the June 12th first.
I
I second
misspoke.
that motion.
Sorry. June 12th, yes.
Okay.
I, Linda
Yeah.
Bigota, second the emotion for June 12th minutes.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Ashley Price for the record. I need to abstain. I was not present for that meeting.
Okay, motion. Now can I get a motion for the July 10th and 11th, 2024 meeting minutes?
This is Saber McWhorter Clark. For the record, I make a motion to approve the minutes for July 10th and 11th of 24 meeting.
I second that.
Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye.
I
Aye.
I
Any nays or opposed?
Again, Ashley Crow Price for the record. I abstain.
Motion carries. Now we can go back to item
Julie, this
is
is Dawn Lyons. There was only one other thing that we kind of glazed over, which was just what I was discussing before about the overview and review of training protocol. But I wanted to mention that since I do not see that Peter has arrived, and he was the one who requested it, that we just leave it as is, let the agenda item stand unless anyone else has any questions about the material that was posted, because the material is pretty self-explanatory.
thank you. I totally missed that. Does anyone have any questions about the training program?
And please, this is Dawn Lyons. Please, if anybody does want to discuss that privately, or have questions that they would rather ask in private, that please reach out to me and I'd be more than happy to go over that with you. I also just wanted to remind everybody that the individual training plans are required by the Administration of Community Living, and so they're required annually. So I would like everybody who has not reached out to me already to schedule a time that we can go over that ITP, or individual training plan, as I mentioned, to please do so that we can set that up and get that in our files so that we're compliant with our requirements. I appreciate it.
Yes. Is John here? I'd like to call on John. to talk about the assistive technology program.
I'm here. This is John Roseland for the record.
And
How are you guys today?
Good.
Yep, I'm all ready to go. So I will, again, I'll just kind of go over the quick overview of the description of the program in case we got somebody new and involved. The Assistive Technology for Independent Living Program, also sometimes referred to as the State Independent Living Program. It's just coordinated through our agency. But the role of that program is really focusing on essential daily living, where assistive technology can remove the barrier. The essential things: getting up out of bed, bathing, toileting, being able to access your home, the things that we need to do every single day to live with disabilities. The intent of this for 30 years has been trying to provide those supports to keep people living in their community and in their homes versus care facilities. So I just did that little summary. We've got a longer version that I think I've sent out before, but if there's any questions about the program, I don't know if you're taking public comment. I can answer those now, or we can just move forward. All right, hearing none, we'll move forward. So the program over the data that I'm going to provide and the stuff that we're going to be looking at is really looking at what your federal reporting year is. Because we do provide information for your state 704. It's not the 704 report, I get it, but it has been for 30 years. So I'm going to say 704 report until I'm done. Your annual report for the SILC and all of the consumers that we serve, the independent living plans that are initiated and created, and the consumer service records, all of that will be put together and I provide it to Dawn every year. But I'm trying to go over, again, I try to go over the information that's a little bit more important, what those things mean and who the people are that we're serving. So bear with me, and I'm going to go through some of that information because it's important for the SILC to understand what those needs are and how many of those types of goals exist. But then we'll get into so some of those outputs, right? The outcomes, the survey data, and I got a couple snapshots of some people who responded to those surveys and was able to dig in and kind of look at what their independent living goals were, right? You can get a better picture of who that individual was. They responded to a survey and included their name, so we can get a little better look at kind of how that impacts somebody's life. This year, the program, going back to the ARPA funding, if y'all remember, we did get approved funding to eliminate our wait list, which my involvement with this program is well over 20 years. It's been in existence for 30. It's like the first time there's not been a wait list. But with that, I say the big but is there is still, this doesn't mean like everybody's just off the wait list. You can't operate for years with a wait list and just be able to go, everybody's served. Impacts that we have are lack of, like vendors and contractors. Anybody that's had to have anything done construction wise it would know that that's still at a premium. You can't just call somebody and have them show up the next day. And specifically the work that we do, we can't just have somebody show up and put in a roll and shower. They really need to know what they're doing, and we really need to make sure that they're vetted in doing the type of work that we need done. So officially, we don't have a wait list right now. As of the beginning of October, we have enough funding resources probably to serve people throughout the rest of the year and into June of 2025, which is pretty exciting. We'll see what happens. We have an average of probably 10 consumers that come into the program per month. So maybe by June or July, we might be going back into a wait list. So this is a very short run, but it is an interesting and unique opportunity to be able to serve people almost as soon as they come through the door. If we can get those things lined out. Those are just the challenges of actually finding out that what it's like to have more funding than vendors to complete the work. So all told, sorry for the little ramble there. All told, the funding that we did get for the program for the operational year was about 1.4 million, and then that additional $1 million for the wait list. So that was all put towards direct services. That's hammers, nails, widening doors, contractors, and paying vendors for services. Of that funding, what is not obligated to vendors right now, I mean, purchase orders in place, the remaining funds is about $500,000. So that kind of tells you how much we have to go through for the next 6 months. So, and that's actually not even looking at October, so 7 months. The data that I'm providing is based on that federal year, October of 23 through September of 24. So this kind of shows you how big that need has been, what that wait list that we've been reporting all those years, what that looks like. An additional $1 million, and we have about $500,000 on top of our regular funding. So that's how much we're going to have left to operate through June of 25. Some of the outliers that we have there are just things that I like to point out. 79 different solution areas. That means 79 goals where there's a solution anticipated in there that we don't have that nailed down. We don't have an estimated cost. So we don't know what those will be. We have 7 months, again, back to the 7 months remaining, 10 new consumers per month coming in. So we'll keep you updated on how this goes and what it looks like and where we end up being. There is one other aspect of that, and it is that the ARPA funds, that there's talk about them pulling the money back after December 31st. That could completely change what we're able to do here. We have about $200,000 that isn't obligated to a contractor right now, but again, losing that would impact that long-term wait list. So for the federal reporting year,
how the IQ affects each.
Sounds like a unmuted mic. With me just a second. Sorry, I lost my spot and I clicked on the wrong thing. So case-wide, caseload statewide for the reporting year. We had 287 consumer service records. That's open plans, goals. The consumer has that independent living plan or has waived a plan. That was 173 carried over consumers. So those were people that things didn't get completed in the year prior, and 114 new consumers during the year. We had 148 consumer cases closed. That leaves 143 open as of September, but I know, about 15 or 20 have been closed since then. Again, that's that revolving door. We have about 10 people coming in, and we have more people closing per month just because we have those funding resources. All the consumer cases are active. We have primarily looking at the data again, we're in the same spot we usually are. Self-care takes up about 60% of the independent living goals that we have. Consumers, just an average based on the consumers and the total number of goals that get set throughout the caseload. That's over three goals per person. That does. One of the reports I'll give you is somebody that had 7 independent living goals, multiple self-care goals, multiple things going on there. But the big picture is about three goals per person. 60% of those goals are self-care. I did break down this time transportation and mobility on the federal reporting side is looking at those as a combined. But I took a little extra time and broke those down. And what we found there is instead of that kind of being the number 2 goal area that we always have, transportation remains the number 2 percentage of goals. 14% of the goals set are around that personal transportation, them addressing the consumer addressing something for them in their personal mobility device, or getting around, driving themselves, or having the ability to do that. 14% is the home access. Those have always been the top three, but eliminating mobility out of there dropped mobility down to number 4. Right equal with communication. So that was kind of interesting. I think we've always looked at that data a little bit different, but it leaves transportation, self-care, and home access as our number 3, top 3 issues that consumers find. Jumping into the survey data, I've mentioned before, we survey consumers that if somebody's had a goal met, they get a goal met type of survey, right? Even if they've withdrawn or whatever, if they've had at least one goal met, there's a version of a survey. But if the consumer is just withdrawn, or we are unable to contact them, or whatever that other pathway might be, and no goals got addressed, we've asked them to fill out a survey and ask them questions like, is independent living planning a good method? Was there anything confusing? This year, we did not have, in the federal year, we didn't have one single person respond to that alternative survey, which is interesting. We usually at least get 1 or 2 of them. I would say since we've implemented that in the last 6 years, it's been interesting that the majority of people, I think all but one person, has said that independent living, setting of independent living goals, our process, level of confusion, like everything's pretty good. So there hasn't been anything really highlighted there. As far as consumer satisfaction surveys where at least one goal has been met, we didn't have one single negative this year, which is pretty awesome. 100% of the people were satisfied, like had a level of satisfaction that's excellent or very good. My favorite one, the amount of choice and control in the services you received. 81% said they had a lot of choice and control. 17 said quite a bit of choice and control. Those are the top 2. And then there's little choice and control. And of course, the not enough choice and control. We had 0% of the people responding that they didn't have enough choice and control. Only 2% said there was only little choice and control. Overall satisfaction, 100%. We're very satisfied. 91% very satisfied. 9% mostly satisfied. There was nothing negative in there, which is pretty neat. I don't think I've ever had that in a year. Buildings and contractors, we asked them how the vendor was they worked for them. 98% were positive. That's excellent or very good. That tells us that our vendors and the people that are going into people's homes and working with them are doing a good job. Positive impact to your life. These are my favorite questions, the actual impacts to people's life. Did the services make a positive impact? 100% of the people responding said yes. 0. Can't have 100% and others. So no, nobody said no. How did the services impact your life is what the question is, your overall quality of life. And the choices there, it improved a lot, or it improved quite a bit, or it improved a little, or it did not change, or it's not applicable. And we also have a place for them for no response. 98% of the people said it improved a lot or quite a bit. 83% said it improved a lot, the number 1 selection there. Overall independence related to the goals established. 74% said it improved a lot. 18% improved quite a bit. Nobody said it didn't change. There was 4% that didn't respond. We did have a number of people that missed filling out the second part of the survey. They're not flipping it over, or they're just not seeing those questions. Chances of staying out of a nursing home. 81% said their chances improved a lot or quite a bit. 10% they improved a little. There's 90% of the people that are getting impacted through that and responding to that. Percentage of people that the percentage of usage. So how often are the devices and modifications being used? 77% daily, 8% weekly. There was a whole bunch that missed this question that were 11% that had no response or not applicable. That's probably not applicable because we provide assistive technology. So if their goal, if they said that their goal was met, there's obviously some assistive technology in there. Last but not least, the percentage, right? The percentage of the people that are responding is what's important to us. We have a target of trying to get 50% of our consumers to respond to this survey, which is completely voluntary, which does require them to fill it out and send it back. So that is so when you have 50% of people responding and returning a survey that they have to put some skin in the game and do the work, is a good indicator. And while we didn't make 50% for this federal reporting year, we're pretty dang close. I think we ended up with 47%. And looking at the data and breaking it down, which I like to do, there's just always been in Las Vegas and Southern Nevada, less people respond and send surveys in. That's not me saying that. That's, over 6 years of data looking at that. There just historically is, almost a 10% drop in responses from people in Las Vegas area in replying to the survey. In the North, we had 50%, over 51% rate of return. And in Las Vegas, we had 43% rate of return. Now to the little story that I wanted to put out there of the consumers and who these people are that are needing the services. And one of the consumer surveys that I just love it when somebody takes the time and writes all over the survey. There's a letter that's involved in these surveys. It lists out what their goal was. It gives them the ability to dispute if their goal wasn't met. So it says, closed goal met. If the person said, no, my goal wasn't met, this is the check and balance, right? Anyways, this one survey caught my eye because the person just wrote all over it. And she included her phone number and her name and all these things. So I went in there and I thought, well, it'd be interesting to just look at all the goal, like what all went on there. So the consumer had 7 different independent living goals to access the home, to be able to be transported in her power wheelchair. She had a huge self-care goal that was like addressing bathing, toileting, and personal hygiene. Usually those are kind of broke down into 3 different areas. Those were kind of all rolled into one. The ability to transfer in and out of bed independently, to be able to read independently. There's also a visual disability there. Prepare meals independently and to eat independently. So after reading the survey and looking at it and seeing her response, which I'm going to read here in a second, you can kind of see where that survey response, the survey response kind of comes from, right? There's 7 things. I question anybody that's involved in this meeting. If you couldn't get in and out of your home, if you couldn't be transported in your mobility device, if you rely on a mobility device, your transportation is going to need to be accessible. Ability to bathe, toilet, do your daily hygiene, to transfer in and out of bed. That's the first thing you got to do every day. Reading your mail, pretty important stuff. Preparing a meal and most importantly, eating a meal. Yeah. Anyways, the response, again, she had little notes all over the thing, but I'm just going to read the main part here. She said, thank you, Care Chest and staff, for all the good you do in this community and for the lives of the disabled and the seniors to live independently. I can't express how grateful I am and how blessed to get the assistance. The hardest part is the wait. It took almost a year or longer. Hard to remember since the application took place before the service. It was a huge impact to me, and seniors need more funding, and given the program, given more people can be helped by the program. Just the notes that were on there, little things like people putting 3 X's by how it impacted their life. Just interesting stuff. It's things that are important in what I do, to be able to look at it and be able to make sure that we're doing more than just buying stuff, right? We're not just buying a ramp or a grab bar. The impact to that individual is pretty significant. I'm going to kind of stop right there. I think I've went through most of the data. I can give you percentages of how many goals are met or in progress. That information is all available. So if anybody wants that greater look at things, please reach out to me and I'll provide it to you. And then I'll just pause right there.
Thank you, John. Any questions? Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute reset. Oh, it is now. What time do you have, Dawn?
I have 2:11, so we can come back at 2:21. I'll pause it.
Exactly. Okay, yes, let's do that. Thank you. Okay, and welcome back, everybody. Next is, I believe this is Dawn, correct?
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons, Julie. Before I go on to that next item, I just wanted to mention that during this meeting, we only have one ASL interpreter. The other one did not show, so she is working extra hard at this meeting, and we're just going to take a few extra breaks this time, just to allow her some time to recoup so that she can provide us with the service that go over and above her call of duty here. So we really appreciate it. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, just let me know.
Yeah, and I will let you know. We're going to try to take a break about every hour. So also, John Rosenland had to leave. He said he's still available if anyone has any questions, that I can ask him to return and he will answer those questions, but he had something he had to get to. And while the recording was off, Dee Dee thanked him before he left for his help in the rural areas with her Center for Independent Living, so that they could serve some customers or consumers out in the rural area by Dee Dee. So I wanted to mention that because it was off the record, and it should probably be on record for our meeting. But the next agenda item that Julie was referring to is the update and discussion regarding the Nevada State Rehab Council. That was in September, so it was right after our last meeting. And I'm sure there's a lot of updates because the next meeting is scheduled for next week. But I can tell you that the big project that everybody's talking about and that they talked quite a bit about at their last meeting was the Nevada Trip program and the website and how that's coming along. So that's a big deal and we're all excited. But the next agenda item after that is actually updates from Aging and Disability Services.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Lori has anything, but Cheyenne wasn't able to be at this meeting, but she did send me an email with a couple updates. So I'll just go ahead and mention those.
Okay.
She said that ADSD is preparing for the legislative session. BDRs and bills are starting to post to the Nellis website. 2 bills to bring to the council's attention. One is AB6, which adds the fetal alcohol syndrome program to the autism treatment assistance program, sorry. And SB8, which updates language related to the title of the attorney for the rights of older persons and persons with a physical disability and intellectual disability or related condition. The next thing she had was that ADSD has received a no-cost extension on their No Wrong Door governance grant. This has been on hold since early in 2024 and will be resuming work once the new facilitator contract is approved. And the last thing she mentioned is the waitlist for the COPE and PASS program is expected to increase in state fiscal year 25 due to limited funding because of provider rate increases in the last legislative session. And I don't know if Lori, you wanted to add anything to that?
Hi, Don. No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lori. And if anyone has any questions, of course, they can either reach out to me or Lori or Cheyenne if you have their contact info. If not, I'll put my email address in the chat for you. And then, Julie, I guess I could just move on to the takeaways from conferences attended. And I actually attended April as well and went to different workshop sessions than Dee Dee. Dee Dee and I were the ones who went to the April Rural Conference. So I'm gonna just say that I sat in on a session that was meant to be for SILC members and CIL members. And Paula McElwee facilitated that and was the instructor, and she had a lot of new things to say that I hadn't heard before. And I don't necessarily agree with everything she said, but it was eye-opening. And what I can do is I can put together a little bit of, I'm gonna ask her actually to send me a summary because I won't be able to give you all the details that she gave us. But it's something that we may want to, some of the things that she mentioned, we may want to consider and discuss and have some sort of a action plan in that regard. But I think that I should get that information properly out to the council before we schedule it for the next meeting, if that's okay with you, Julie.
Yes, could you tell
And then
us who that was? Like, I don't know who she is.
Oh, she's from ILRU, which no longer has the contract with ACL as of right now for the training for SILCs and IL networks. But that's in under review right now with ACL, and they've sent us some information about, you know, what they're doing for now is they're leaving some of the trainings that are already up on the ILRU website available to us for training until they can come to a conclusion or a conclusive decision about who their next training provider will be and how that looks. And I will keep you updated on that as well as I receive information. But I was gonna say, if you don't have any more questions for me about that, I was gonna let Dee Dee go ahead and describe what she learned at April while I go ahead and put my email in the chat.
Thank you.
I had a great time at April. Really enjoyed myself. I learned about the youth programs that are going on, and they handed out a really great handout. It's a book that tells a little bit about youth training and some of their ideas, which is great because I'm using some of those ideas already in our recreation club and our support group with our younger people. I also, like I had said in my presentation, talked a lot with the Montana University about some of the things they were doing. And the library outreach I thought was a great idea, and they wanted to know more about what we were doing in Nevada. So I have not sent that email to them yet, but I am in the process of doing that. I also, I'm trying to remember, I should have brought my notebook with me. Trying to remember some of the other great things that I learned. I attended also, because I don't have my notebook with me, I also spoke a lot with Colorado and and networked a little bit with them about money follows the person. And they said that they're there to help us out if we want to do some work in that area, which I am really hoping that SNCIL would be interested in doing in the Southern Nevada area. So they also said that they're thinking about coming to pay us a visit. Have you organized anything or gotten back with them yet, Dawn, on that?
Say that one more time, Dee.
That the Colorado group was talking about coming to visit.
Oh, they mentioned that?
Yeah, they did.
So we are working, well, I should say I am working behind the scenes right now with Peter Pike from Colorado to try and get something organized, but it's not yet established because the funding isn't there yet, but we will make sure that the SILC is aware as we see plans come to fruition and we need input on that. So, because I don't want to plan anything without the SILC's input. So I'll make sure you guys are a part of that. It's very preliminary. It's very early stages. It's just a discussion right now.
Well, I can say that they're very excited about coming to visit us. And anyway, I am so sorry I don't have my notebook with me, but I ran out of the house and did not grab my notebook about all the things that I learned at April. But I must say that I did lots of networking and I enjoyed myself immensely. So I'll try to add on more information as we proceed, maybe tomorrow when I can grab my notebook. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dee.
This is Dawn Lyons. May I, Julie?
Yes, please.
The other part of that is upcoming events and conferences. And I just wanted to mention that pretty soon the SILC Congress early bird registration will be open. And SILC Congress is going to be in March again. I can send out those dates to the group after the meeting and I'll post their notice on our website as soon as I receive it. I wasn't able to attend their meeting yesterday that explained the details, but if anyone is interested in going to SILC Congress, it's a really good conference, especially for new SILC members who may not understand or know that much about independent living or what our council's purpose is, or how our relationships look within the IL network, all those basics and and more. And even if you're looking to expand your knowledge on what you already know about it, it's a good conference for SILC members because the National SILC organization puts it together and they're experts on what what silks really need to know. So please reach out to me if you're interested, and so I can get that list going of who is, and make sure that we have, you know, the funding in place for everybody who would like to go. And then I can go ahead and get those registrations started as soon as I get the word.
This is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. That's one of the things I forgot to add, which is I won a free enrollment to the Silk Congress. So I'm very excited about that at the raffle. So I will be attending. Yeah, I was.
You were the luckiest person because a couple of years ago, DD won entrance to the April conference. I was so covered.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky with raffles. I think I'll continue to do them.
I am jealous.
It saves you guys some money at least, which is great because I'm always interested in going to conferences because they really do help me find out what is happening around us in the world. And I think that some of the programs that other people are instituting are extremely exciting. And we would never know about those programs if we didn't attend conferences. Thanks, Dawn, for the interruption.
Is there anything else on this agenda item?
So this is Dawn Lyons, and as we move into the next one, because Jennifer Kane typically gave those updates on the Pathways to Partnerships Disability Innovation Fund grant and the Nevada Trip program and everything happening with that. But since Ashley's brand new, I didn't ask her to get anything together for us or be prepared to speak. You know, Ashley, if you want to, you can give us a little update on that, but it, you know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy or formal.
Well, good. So currently we are finalizing our end of year performance report, annual performance report. So that's been consuming much of the energy. We had a second advisory work group meeting earlier this week, and we are getting some great feedback and involvement from the community. We have also kind of, Jen and I came to the idea of trying to keep, you know, 10% of parents and support systems and children and youth with disabilities. We actually have closer to 50% of our advisory work group made up of that population. We're realizing that we really want to keep it beneficial and engaging. So we have decided to invite different partners or outside agencies and partners to do a warm-up, intro warm-up activity. And then we've also decided to take a 30 or 40-minute portion of each meeting and have one or two partners or other agencies that we want to be highlighting on the website and have them come in for an opportunity to share with the advisory work group. So really they have an understanding of more of the resources throughout our state, why they're on the website, and what the agency as well as the partners are hoping to get out of that connection. So keep anybody in mind that you would recommend to present to the advisory work group for Nevada Trip. And we would love to start hearing from some volunteers. I think those are the big ones. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Ashley.
Good, thanks. This is Dawn Lyons. Julie, before we move on, I think we have time for one more agenda item. I did hear from the ASL company. They requested actually a break every 20 minutes or so. So if we can accommodate, it's a lot of breaks, but she does need them. So I don't know if you want to take a break now or after the next agenda item.
Let's do it now. We actually had a schedule So we're doing really well.
So
So
should we,
let's take a 10-minute break.
okay, I will pause the recording now and we'll come back. It is 2:40. We'll come back at 2:50.
Item 6. I'm gonna turn over to Dawn.
Thanks, Julie. This is Dawn Lyons. The agenda item that we're on next is number 6, and it's discussion and approval of updated Nevada Silk bylaws. I included the bylaws draft with track changes in our meeting materials, but I can go over those specific changes. A lot of them are really minor, and most of them are just to update for our upcoming 501c3 status and our autonomy, furthering our autonomy. But I'll go ahead and pull that up and go through them. Do you want me to share my screen or just read through them? What do you guys prefer? Anybody have a preference?
I think reading through them always helps me to, you know, auditorily hear them.
Yeah, I think it should share.
Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, hopefully everyone can see the draft bylaws on your screen now. One of the first changes I listed was under definitions under council. Instead of just saying silk, I just put NV silk because that's kind of what we're doing business as when we file as a 501c3. So I wanted to ensure that we stay consistent with what we're calling ourselves. The next change is under silk roll definition, and I'll go ahead and read through that. It says develop the spill, monitor, review, and evaluate the implementation of the spill, meet regularly, open meetings, reports, including, used to say 704. I changed that to program progress report, or PPR as it's now called. And that was the major change in there that I provided for my proposal to change that. Because like John said, it's no longer the 704 report, now it's the PPR. The next one is under Article 2, under our name, because we are doing business as NV Silk. And I updated the dates in there to match our latest executive order that we have established. It says the name of this organization shall be the Nevada Statewide Independent Living Council, hereinafter referred to as the Council, as established by an executive order 2017-12 by the governor of the state of Nevada in 2017, and doing business as NV Silk. And then the next change is under the Article 4 purpose, and it's the last sentence. And it used to say council meetings shall be held at accessible locations as selected by the council and coordinated by DSE staff as requested. I added in there, after held at accessible locations, I added and/or virtually as selected by the council. And that's self-explanatory. The next change that I'm proposing we make is under Article 5, under council members. It's several paragraphs down regarding vacancies. So it said a vacancy occurring in the council shall be filled in the same manner as the original appointment. As described in Article 7, the officers shall be elected as follows. The vacancy shall not affect the power of the remaining members to execute the duties of the council. I propose adding an additional sentence that says, when a member in good standing has applied for their second term, that member may proceed as if the appointment has already been made in matters of voting and other council duties unless and until such time the governor's office informs us that the appointment will not be made, or if that member chooses to retract his or her application. And that was prompted partly by Peter Whittingham's suggestion of to describe what a member in good standing definition is, but also I think it belongs in that section. And it helps define what that means and the parameters around it. So the next change would be under Article 6, Council Duties and Responsibilities. After the federal language that's listed, I suggested we add some further defining information within the several of the paragraphs. So it says the council shall prepare in conjunction with the designated state entity a budget for the operation of the council. And the budget should include, and I inserted an additional section here that says, if funded by Title VII Part B or Innovation and Expansion I&E funding. And then to go ahead and explain what that budget should include. I didn't change any of that language, but I thought we could be more specific about what type of funding that includes, because we have several possibilities for where that funding could come from. So I wanted to make sure that we were just using that particular funding, because if we do want to utilize any other funding or outside source of funding that don't include those, that we don't need to include the DSE in the budget arrangement. The next paragraph says the council chair, and I put shall supervise the executive director, comma, or the vice chair in the chair's absence. And the executive director shall, consistent with state law and these bylaws, supervise and evaluate all other staff and personnel employed by the council as may be necessary to carry out the functions of the council per 45 CFR 1329.15E. And that was, what I did was I just changed a little bit of the language there to make it more specific, because it used to just say the council chair or vice chair and the executive director shall, consistent with state law and bylaws, supervise and evaluate staff. And so it just made it much more clear under that particular CFR or federal regulation, I should say. So then I'm proposing that we add another paragraph after that saying council staff and council members alike must adhere to the code of ethics as outlined in the policy and procedure manual, and all established SILC policies supersede state policy where law is allowed, so as to maintain council autonomy per federal guidelines. The executive team may make administrative decisions for the council where necessary, including where it is not defined in policy. And that was in response to some issues that we had between the DSE and the SILC. And so we defined it in our spill, but I wanted to make sure that we were further defining that to maintain as much autonomy as possible in the future. After this spill is over is what I'm talking about, so that we have that established and we can refer back to that in our bylaws if it comes up again for any reason. Let's see, was there anything else? Yeah, okay. So the next proposed change is under Article 8 under procedures. I just basically, after proxy voting will not be permitted, wanted to add in there a sentence that says, or a paragraph that says, a tied or equally split vote shall be resolved by the executive director If the executive director would be considered to have a conflict of interest in the vote at hand, the DSE representative shall then break the tied vote. The executive director or DSE representative will only vote to break a tie and shall not be considered a voting member for any other purposes. And that's really just because if we have a tie vote come up and we don't have anything in place in our bylaws that define how we can handle that, we can't. And so I wanted to make sure we were covering our bases. And that was the one section that I added that I took some liberties at assuming that the council would be in agreement with. So please let me know if you are, or if you have any issues with that, or if you have any other ideas that you might like to include instead. But that was my thoughts, since, you know, most of you guys are voting members, and the ones that the people who aren't voting members who could potentially break that tie, it just seemed to make more sense to me to go in that order, based on in the interest of the SILC. Then down farther under the agendas for council meetings shall be prepared as follows. Instead of saying agendas for regular and annual meetings shall be developed by the chairperson with the assistance of the executive director, council, or DSE staff, I put and/or DSE staff, just to make that a little more flexible there. And then down a little farther, it says minutes shall be kept of all council meetings. And I added for a period of 3 years by the DSE. Little farther down, under the paragraph that says all members shall disclose conflicts of interest to the chair of the council/subcommittee, including uncertain or potential conflicts, as soon as the conflict becomes apparent. The next sentence, it says members have an ongoing duty to disclose any conflicts of interest. I put members and/or staff have an ongoing duty to disclose any conflicts of interest, just to make it more clear that staff should be included in that. And then under Article 12, role of the designated state entity, it says the SPIL shall designate a state entity selected by the council. I changed that to selected by the Nevada Statewide Independent Living Council. And then I also added, under referred to in this title as the designated state entity, I put or DSE, just so that there's no questions about what those mean when they come up. And then under this chapter based on state plan, provide administrative support services for a program under Part B. I put for any program under Part B, because we don't know if they will all stay the same all the time. We want to ensure we're covering our bases if they do change. And that's it. Those were my suggested changes for our bylaws. And so at least one of these came up by the DAG. The DAG asked us about it because of some questions that were asked to the DAG about how we handled some of our voting. So I wanted to ensure that we actually had it specified in our bylaws so that we don't have to explain ourselves or justify our actions in the future. So I guess I'm going to stop sharing. And if no one has any questions or suggested changes to what I've suggested that we add or include in there or change, I'm looking for a motion to approve the new bylaws.
Sure. Julie White, since I'm on the record, I have one question.
Okay.
All right. I know we do it anyway, but it's illegal to consider a member who hasn't got it. Their reappointment officially through the governor is it legal to consider them, to let them continue their
I see. Let me pull that back up.
that's not the, I mean, we do it anyway.
Well,
I was wondering if that's according to it, if that's okay.
yeah, so the DAG, this is Don Lyons. In the past, the DAG has given us guidance that we should assume that anyone who has reapplied for their second term but has not received that appointment yet, that they can go ahead and act as if they've been appointed until they receive that appointment. However, I can add, let me make sure I didn't first, because I thought I did, but
as long as the tax says it's okay, I'm fine.
well, and you know, it can't hurt to have it in our bylaws, even though the DAG has given us that guidance, if we want to add that in there. So I could add something in there about that. Let me just
Yeah, I
make
think
sure
you should.
yeah.
I think you should, just for clarity's sake.
I'm just looking through it one more time to make sure there's not a section already there that I could expand on. Hold on. Oh yeah, no, okay, that was one of the additions that I added. So I put, when a member in good standing has applied for their second term, that member may proceed as if the appointment has already been made in matters of voting and other council duties, unless and until such time the governor's office informs us the appointment will not be made, or if that member chooses to retract his or her application. So that is in there, Julie.
Yeah, I know it's in there. You answered my question. I just wanted to make sure that.
Oh, that it was
X,
legal. Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
yeah.
just wanted to make sure the DAG said it was kosher.
Yeah, in fact, the DAG suggested that I put that in our bylaws after they after they gave us that guidance. So
okay, good. That's all I wanted. Any other questions? That I'd like to make a motion to accept the changes to the Nevada stuff bylaws. Do I hear a second?
This is Saber McWhorter Clark for the record. I second. Thank you, Dawn.
I can't hear. Do I hear a second?
Saber McWhorter Clark just seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? No discussion? All the fingers. Say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? Motion carries. And then I'd like to turn it back to Dawn to talk about the policy and procedural manual.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons again. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with the draft updated policy and procedure manual. That would be the 14th edition if approved today. And I'll go through that one with you guys. Let me pull that one up. Okay. So I needed to update our policy and procedure manual mostly because it was spill specific and we have a brand new approved spill with new goals and objectives. So that was the biggest reason why I had to update it, but I will go through the individual changes and as I will scroll through and let you know what they are. So the spill goals and objectives were updated to match our ACL approved current state plan for independent living federal fiscal years 25 through 27. And it really just states what those goals and objectives are. It doesn't go into all the indicators, but it's just for the public information and for the SILC's information at a glance, so to speak, of what our spill goals and objectives are for these next 3 years. Let me go down a little farther. So Peter Whittingham had suggested we include a definition of what a member in good standing is. And even though we did include a little bit of that in our bylaws, I also put it in our policy. So it says a member in good standing is defined as one who does not have a violation of the code of ethics on file, nor has any violation currently in question or being investigated. And I believe that's what the SILC determined that's what that definition should be when we had that discussion when Peter brought it up. Let me see. In the code of ethics, I think we actually, I don't think that was this time. I think we updated our policy and procedure manual to include staff members along with council members in the code of ethics last time. So that's not part of it. Yeah, I think that's all I updated was mostly just the goals and objectives to match our latest state plan for independent living. And then the definition of a member in good standing. So I am looking for a motion to approve the SILC Policy and Procedure Manual 14th edition. I get a motion?
This is Linda Voda. I so
moved.
I'm sorry. My words have been lost to me for months. So I approve the motion for the new, what is it called?
Linda, you can just say so moved.
Okay, I say so.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
I don't, I think people are confused because you didn't say any discussion.
Sorry. Any discussion? That's why I didn't say any discussion.
Ashley Price for the record, I abstain.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any any dis- I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Any disagreements? Motion pass. Motion pass.
Yeah, we're ahead of schedule.
Yeah. But can you look at your text before we go on to the next item? Or, or do we get to stop here?
Do we have to what?
Since it says day 2, do we
Oh,
stop here?
it says anticipated for day 2, but I don't think that it's something that we have to follow since it's just in anticipation of.
Okay. Do you think we should do item 7?
Item 8, you mean, for the evaluation team recommendations for the approval of the SILC subawards?
Yeah. I mean, like,
I think we definitely have time for it.
okay, so let's do it. Item 8. Discussion regarding the evaluation team's recommendations for the approval of six awards. The executive team met last week and we reviewed all applications and we have a recommendation. So, and then I'm going to make the recommendation and then we'll have an open discussion. And if you don't understand me, Dawn could repeat it because it's not the executive team would like to recommend that all 3 applicants receive award monies for their suggested purchase. But the RCIL received the $86,000 to continue the important work they've been doing in their community as a 725 compliant organization, and that SNCIL and NNCIL split the $54,000 for their purposes. Sorry, for their proposals. Since these funds were not applied for the purpose intended and are still remain. Could you repeat that just in case?
Sure, sure. So the recommendation of the executive team is that they would like to recommend that all three applicants receive award monies for their suggested purposes, but that RCIL receive the 86,000 to continue to do the important work that they've been doing in the community as a 725 compliant organization, and that SNCIL and NNCIL split the 54,000 for their proposals, since those funds were not applied for the purpose intended and are still remaining.
Weird.
In other words, so the 54,000 of the notice of funding opportunity, no one applied for that money to, I don't know if the SILC remembers that it was proposed by actually one of the Centers for Independent Living staff members that they coordinate and collaborate together on a project, and that would, we had that discussion that it would include a legislative educator, and that one of the Part C centers would manage the actual position using some of that, using that 54,000, but that it would be a requirement that NNCIL, RCIL, and SNCIL all work together on that project so that they would have input into the legislative educators' duties and how that would look for them. So no one actually applied for that. All of them applied for the 86,000 to provide IL services in the community as a 725 compliant organization. And it was the SILC's real intention from the get-go to really have the Part C centers work on the $54,000 legislative educator project with RCIL. But since, you know, that wasn't applied for and everybody wanted the 86,000, that we decided that it would be a good idea probably to give that 86,000 to RCIL, knowing that they would continue the work that they've been doing in the rural areas, and that NNCIL and SNCIL split that remaining 54,000 that we wouldn't have had a purpose for because it wasn't applied for anyway, to provide the services that they proposed they would.
I'm sure there's questions. I'm sure there's comments and questions. So who wants to go first?
Actually, this is Dawn Lyons, and Lisa put in the chat NNCIL applied for the 54,000, and I may have missed that, but let me pull up the, I don't know, I read through the application and maybe I missed it, or maybe it was a separate application, but let me double check. have a lot of documents up, so bear with me here while I look for it. Doesn't look like I have it pulled up. Let me just locate it real quick. I did find it. Let me, no, that's not the right one. I'm so sorry. This is taking me an extra long minute to find it because I keep opening it and it keeps moving it. Okay. I'm going to scroll through it really fast and see if I'm reading it differently this time. I see. So the reason why, and I apologize for that, the reason why is because we reviewed the narratives. We didn't review the budget proposals or the budget applications. And so in the narrative that I'm looking through it again. I'm seeing a TBI program proposal. Okay, so we actually, I'm seeing the conclusion kind of wraps it up and summarizes it. It says, the proposed pilot program will empower individuals with TBI or traumatic brain injury, initially in targeted Northern Nevada counties, to lead more independent lives, providing them with the skills, resources, and support necessary for successful community integration. We respectfully request $43,000 to implement this vital program and make a meaningful impact in the lives of those affected by TBI. So it wasn't that,
Dawn?
it wasn't that, go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry, there were two separate proposals. There was one that you're referencing there. There was a second one, and you may recall Hilda actually reached out to you because the legislative session date was wrong. And she
Yes.
was asking you about that.
I do recall that actually. I remember her reaching out, but I must have missed that other proposal. So at this point, since we did not include that other proposal or review it, I suggest that the review team or the evaluation team go through that again and come back in January with another recommendation and make that final call then, even though unless you think we should have a meeting in between just to determine that, but I feel like since
I'd like to offer our apology. It's honest.
yes. Yes,
let's start there. I deeply apologize, Lisa. It was an oversight.
No problem. Things happen.
yeah.
I just to add to the mix, Mary and I discussed this. And so she and I, I said one of the two of us needs to do this. And she and I discussed it and I said, I'll do it. And so we went ahead and wrote the proposal. So we're on the same page. And Mary, if you want to weigh in, but I don't know what happened. But I'd be more than happy if you don't have it to send it again.
This is Dawn Lyons, and I, again, like Julie said, I very much apologize for missing that. I'm sure it was my fault because there were so many documents that I received lately to include in the materials and to review that I probably overlooked it, and I really apologize for that because that's important and it changes a lot. So if you guys are okay with it, even though the grant period is supposed to start in January, if we could make that determination in January, it could be backdated to the beginning of January if need be, to cover any expenses in January, but it would be from January through December anyway. So if we could make a new recommendation and discuss it at our January meeting, would that be okay with the centers, or should we, and the SILC, or should we establish an additional special meeting in December to go ahead and approve and make recommendations at that time so that in January you guys can get started right away. It's up to you guys have to discuss that, whether you would like to create a new meeting in December to do that or just decide in January.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the Mary and Lisa first.
I'm good with waiting. What are your thoughts, Mary?
I think it's okay to wait till January because part of that proposal, and I know Hilda sent away for the information, it was real confusing how to address the dates and how to start immediately. And then Dawn, what Hilda got back from you, I can't remember, but I remember we discussed it. And then I did send a letter of support stating, that the two centers are willing to work together on that and then follow all of the parameters established by the grant or the NOFA.
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons, just to avoid any delays in the future on the determination of this sub-award from SILC. It would be in the SILC's best interest to understand up front, since we didn't get a chance to review it yet, and the next time we really want to make a decision, if the proposal included NNCIL, SNCIL, and RCIL working together as a team on that project for the legislative educator.
This is Lisa. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak or not.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
It includes the three entities for determining what the objectives are, but it leaves the management of the person to NNCIL. We just felt like it was too confusing to be managed by three entities that aren't even on the same location. So that was the thought behind it. Mary, if you have anything you'd like to add.
No, and I think it's a worthy project. It just gets a little bit confusing in the management of it. I think it's better if one agency hires, and it's a lot of budgetary technical issues like paying the benefits, so that's how we looked at it as management, but the input would come from the CILs, and not just the CILs, it would come from the partners that we have, the IL network. So it's not closed, but just to manage a project like that where we're all on the same page, and then educating our consumers on the issues on hand and educating ourselves.
This is Dawn Lyons. I appreciate that clarification because, Mary, it might have just been the way you said it before, was that the two centers And so that I wasn't sure if I should assume that you weren't including RCIL in that. So I wanted to
It
be.
includes,
I
it's
appreciate
a
you doing-
statewide. I'm sorry if I said that. No offense, Matt.
Okay, so did you guys say that you're okay with waiting till January then?
Sure.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I really apologize for excluding that. It wasn't on my radar. I will look for it
Okay.
again, and if I need to, I will reach out to Hilda and ask her for that again.
Thank you.
And may I suggest maybe next time a cover sheet listing what's included in the process, just so it's crystal clear.
Yeah, or just a simple breakdown summary of what is being requested for what in, instead of two separate, if you have to put two separate narratives in as applications, then to summarize both, since they were both on the same notice of funding opportunity, so that we know that there's more to it, if that makes sense. We'll probably do it differently next time just because of this hiccup.
Yeah.
Don't-
Okay.
Mary, I'm so sorry, Julie. I know I shouldn't be speaking. I'm ex officio. Do you have a copy of it now?
I'll have to look for it, Mary. I'm not sure. That's why it wasn't on my radar, because it may have come in a separate email and it may have dropped off my radar and I didn't realize that that's what that was. So I'll go back and look for it. And if I can't find it, then I'll reach out to Hilda, ask for a copy.
Because I'm pretty sure it was two separate documents, two different
It
grants,
was.
CBI, and then one was for the legislative support.
Right.
All right.
Okay, and again, I deeply, deeply apologize. I think this is a good place to stop for public comment. Dawn, would you like to read the piano?
Sure. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782 US Tacoma. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434 and passcode 707401. Comments will be allowed at the beginning and end of each day and will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments.
Mary?
Yes, thank you, Julie. I just want to say to all the SILC members, it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here, but per protocol, I won't be speaking because I am a member. While in Nevada, both CILs always attend all of the SILC meetings. We follow protocols that we have one of our directors per the Rehab Act serving on the SILC. And then I just want to say that I think, thanks to Julie, all of the SILC members and the staff, I have really seen a lot of growth in the SILC. I know we still have our issues and our glitches and this and that and the other, but who doesn't? So, but I really do see a lot of growth for Nevada through the spill in the future. And I just want you to know I'm here, have not gone anywhere. So if anybody has any questions or needs information, I'm always here. And so I thank you for that. And then per protocol, I won't be speaking. I'm not being rude. So if my name is mentioned and I don't address it, it's following protocol, but you can always reach out to me individually. So thank you.
Is Ace still on the call?
Ace is still.
This is Julie Weiss.
Julie, hi, this is Ace. I'm still here. Yes.
Okay. This is Julie Weiss with Saga. For the record, I'd like to thank Ace for her years of service to the show and for personally being my mentor. There's no way I'd be here without Ace. So thank you. And you can come visit anytime.
This is Ace for the record. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. And like Mary, I won't be going anywhere. I'll be popping in and out. And I'm very grateful for the time that I have been able to serve on SILC and hopefully did y'all proud and looking forward to hearing that you have new members and keep moving forward, one step at a time. And I too, like Mary, I've seen a lot of growth with the SILC since I have uh, been a member of the council. So, I'm very grateful and thank you again, Julie. And I am so glad that you are in position of chair and that Havander is your second in command there. And Don, thank you as well for everything that you have done for me as I began the first part of being chair when we really didn't have many council members. So I'm very grateful to everybody and thank you again.
Good.
Yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. I would also like to piggyback off of that and say, shout out to Vicky Esner for being a 2 consecutive term member who just recently termed out, and as well as Jennifer Kane. And if I'm forgetting anybody, please forgive me, because everyone who has been on this council and who has termed out because they have served 2 consecutive terms, we really appreciate everything that you've contributed. So thanks.
Is there anyone on the comment? Hearing none, I call this meeting adjourned till tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Before you adjourn,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I am really confused. And I wonder if other council members are confused too. And I'm just not too sure what exactly went on before we moved on to public comment. So can you go over that, Dawn, before we sign off?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, Dee Dee. This is Dawn Lyons. I apologize for all the confusion, and I understand it is confusing what just happened. So let me just explain. What we reviewed was not complete. So the evaluation team must go back and re-review all documentation before we make a recommendation to the council about our fiscal year 25 subawards. But they're not scheduled to begin as we agreed at one of our previous SILC meetings, that we would postpone those awards to begin in January, since historically the last few years we have received our grant funding very late from the federal government. So we decided to go ahead and push those dates back, since we have that additional year to spend those funds for the calendar year rather than the fiscal year, to ensure that we have the funding available to begin those subawards on time. So since we didn't review the complete information and we need to do that again, the Part C centers have agreed, and I guess we really needed to get your input as well and see that you also agree that if we bring our recommendation back after a full review of all the documentation in January, if that would be okay with you as well, because it wouldn't start until January anyway. Does that make sense?
That's not the part I'm confused about.
Okay.
The part I'm confused about is who applied for which grant, if we still have the grant that is going to work with the legislature. So that's, that was kind of confusing to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. Yeah, I can explain. So what we reviewed and evaluated was an application from NNCIL for, I think it was 50, I can't remember, 40 something thousand for a TBI program. And then an application for the other half of that 86,000 from NNCIL for home for housing issues, since that's our number one issue in Nevada.
I think you mean SNCIL.
Sorry?
I think you mean SNCIL.
Yeah, that is that not what I said? Sorry. Yeah, NNCIL applied for half of the funding for a TBI program of the 86,000. SNCIL applied for the other half of the 86,000 for housing. RCIL applied for 86,000 for housing. We did not see the legislative educator application because I either misplaced it or didn't receive it, one of the two, which I'm going to go back and look for. But since we did not have information, we did not have that application for the legislative educator. We need to go back and review everything before we make a recommendation. So that's why we're postponing it. Does that make more sense now, Dee Dee?
Yeah, now I understand. It just was a little bit confusing there because I just thought, did we lose track of the legislative grant? So that's, that's what I was concerned about. Yeah, because I I think that the entire board will agree with me. The legislative education section for that grant is really, really important because people, I don't think in the legislature really is very well aware of our existence. And we really need to help educate them so that they understand what all our CILs do in this state and our SILC does in this state. I think that the education grant is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. This is Dawn Lyons. I absolutely agree with you. And I am super happy that I was mistaken and didn't think that there was an application for that, because this is an awesome opportunity for Centers for Independent Living to really educate legislators about how important independent living is and how the independent living network needs to be funded better by the state and supported better. So
Dawn, this is Margaret. I've actually been working with Bert Gurr, who's in Elko, about what our CIL and what we do, because he's asked me questions. He's been working on getting things for money and stuff like that. So I'm here and I know him very well. And he asked me questions and I give him answers the best I can.
thanks, Margaret. This is Dawn Lyons, and I appreciate you saying that because that was the whole purpose of having a project that all of you guys work together on, because we know all of you have your hands involved in that area to a certain degree. And if you put your heads together and we put our funding together for that, then maybe we can actually accomplish something better together, right?
And I think definitely that, SNCIL has contacts down there in Southern Nevada, and NNCIL, I'm sure, has lots of contacts up there in the areas they're working. And I just feel very strongly about us getting out and educating and helping people understand more about Centers for Independent Living.
And it's not just the legislature, it's everybody, because they don't know we even exist.
This is Dawn Lyons. We're talking about the notice of funding opportunity for the legislative educator right now. But yeah, you're right. We need to educate the public about independent living as well. Just to add something to that, Dee Dee, it's actually in our state plan, and it's one of our objectives or indicators that we will do this. So that also puts us in compliance with our own goals and objectives. So yeah, I'm really glad that I was wrong.
Thanks so much, Dawn. I just needed that little clarification because I was really confused. Thanks.
Okay. Let's try this again. I'm trying to get us out a little bit early. Does anyone else have any public comment?
And I'm not gonna, this is Dawn Lyons, I'm not gonna repeat that blurb you spoke because it's on the record.
Yeah.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to Ace Patrick. She has been my inspiration, and she has been extremely supportive of us, and we appreciate her so much. She'll never know what she means to us because she truly has been an inspiration. Thank you.
Mrs. Ace, thank you very much, Dee Dee. I appreciate your kind words.
You're welcome. You deserve it.
I'm gonna call this meeting adjourned. And we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Thank you all.
Yes, and this is Dawn Lyons. Thank you to the interpreters for the little glitch that they so smoothly worked us through. We appreciate you guys. And thank you to our cart provider, Becky, too, as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.